I'm down here in the basement to go over one of the 4 remaining big structural problems in the house. You've heard a lot about lintels and beams and joist, and this is related but a little different in that this is the servant's stairwell. It's the only access up to the 3rd floor, and it backs up to that severe area of water damage from the bad roof design, and there's extremely active termite activity from the ground all the way up to the attic in this space. My concern is that the stairs are unsafe, and I just don't know until I do a lot of exploratory demolition, which makes me sad. I'm hoping I don't have to remove the stairs completely and replace them. But like everything else, we're starting down here in the basement and working our way up to make sure that we have solid support on the ground. So let me show you the activity that's been going on in this area and kind of where we are. And then a cool thing that I learned about the house from that first demolition. Before we started working in this area, it looked bad. At some point, there had been an attempt to shore up the lower landing of the stair because I could see new lumber and some haphazard bracing. We started off by prying one corner board to see what was going on. So we're doing some exploratory demolition. See how bad this wall is, because underneath in the basement there's nothing left at all. So we're going to pop a line, cut across, and take all this out. I got impatient and had Robert use the circular saw with the cutting depth set to the beadboard. It went much faster. Getting this first part of the beadboard off proved to be pretty simple since everything was so termite eaten. Then I had a mini panic attack because I realized that with the wall so rotten, nothing was holding up the tile on the other side. And everyone should know by now how much I love antique tile. It's concrete.
Yeah.
Robert, it's concrete. Oh, you know what? Oh, this is not good. Okay, let's time out. Time out. Time out. My tile is on the other side of that. The tile. The white tile in the little alcove. I apologize for all the dust in the air, but this is a tight, dark space, and the camera is picking up all the reflection of the dust. We should probably be wearing masks all the time in this house. I'm always astounded by the dust that's only visible in the videos. Where's your hammer? Your hammer? Okay, that's solid-ish. Okay. That's all right. Yeah, I'm worried about this. This is that concrete floor, and this is that concrete wall that's the basis of my tile on the other side. Okay. So I want to be very careful with that. Okay, I had them stop the demolition because we've run into a piece of good wood. There is a little bit of a termite track here, but this board looks to be solid. So what I'm going to do, if I can see, kind of judge where this is and go look and see if I can tell from in the basement if we've hit something structurally solid and can stop. So there's that 2x4, and it does look relatively solid. So if we rebuild this corner and put some wood hardener on here and cut these joists back and bring some new posts to the ground, I think this is going to be relatively sound. With a game plan set, the demolition continued. This is not what you want your wood to look like. This is not a good sound. Once that support was removed, you could really see the damage the termites caused on the back side of the beadboard. The front still looked okay, so I decided to try a wood hardener that I had heard good things about. Alright, I'm back down in the basement. I'm going to use a product I've never tried before. It's this Avatron liquid wood, and one of the structural engineers recommended it. It's an epoxy liquid you mix in 2 parts and pour it onto the damaged wood. It soaks in and hardens it back to the point where there's structural integrity. Part of the problem is the termites have eaten through my beadboard on the other side, and I don't want to have to demolish that entire stairwell and risk damaging the wood, but it's very thin in places and weak. So if I put this on it on the back side, it should shore it up and also fix some of this load carrying member right here. So we're going to give it a try. First step is, this is the only brush I could find on site, so I'm going to go in and scrub out a lot of the dirt and loose stuff. And I'm standing on my wonderful Christmas gift my husband gave me this year, my little platform. And I do have safety glasses on, because this is already nasty. I wish the real work could go as fast as the video. And it seems to be pretty simple. You just mix equal parts. Robert helped me get the cans open, and then we were met with a horrible surprise. Yeah. You can taste it. The fumes, you can actually taste it in the back of the tongue. That's nasty. Okay. Okay, that's just... Okay, that's just creepy that you can taste the smell. Alright. And it says to mix for 1 minute, and since my phone is filming, I'll have to count. I'll just have a seat. Okay, now it has a putrid smell. Oh, this is gross. This is really gross. Alright, now it says to let it sit for 10 minutes. So I'm going to turn the camera off and set my timer. Okay, it's had 10 minutes to sit, according to the instructions. I just have to paint it on, so we'll see how this goes. It took about 30 minutes to get the wood saturated, and it was very messy. I hope it works because it was not a pleasant experience. I had some leftover, so I used it on the beam that the structural engineer said could be saved and not replaced. After it hardened, Robert started replacing the joists and studs. He used a temporary post to support the stair until the wall could be rebuilt properly. We were down in the basement. We were right on the other side of this wall. And so this is the wall I told you that I'm pretty confident is strong up to about this level now. What I'm less sure about is what's going on in this wall and have termites eaten through the treads this way, because let me show you a video of this wall. There's so much visible damage coming through the outer surface of the beadboard. You can push on it with your hands and feel the weak spots. And here they are just happily eating away in plain sight. Now this wall is going to be much harder to demo because this beadboard is extremely long. Fortunately, the floor in the addition on the ground floor was made of beadboard turned upside down. So I do have some very long pieces that I might be able to repair. But you can see the new beam here. All of this wall is going to have to come out, and it's probably necessary anyway for a section to come out because we have to run a plumbing vent up all the way to the roof. So we'll probably take a saw and take out a section and remove this and just do some exploration here as we work to get that vent in. But that's one reason we don't jump the gun and do a lot of plumbing or electrical work first, because there's so much other demolition that goes on for the structural problems that it could give us an avenue to come back and do that plumbing and electrical work without unnecessarily taking down a wall somewhere else. So we'll try to get multiple things done in this area by removing this wall. Now you've seen a lot of the activity here, kind of where it stands now. We've got a good bottom plate here, 2x6 supports going up. We've replaced the main support kind of in that nook area in the servants hall. There's still some work to be done to support the floor underneath and make sure that that's secure. But right now this looks pretty good, and fortunately the stair treads and stringers themselves were not affected. So at least I know now that the stair going up to the first floor is sound, at least on this side. I don't know on the outside wall yet. That's where that area was so heavily damaged, and that's where the termites were most active. But right now this part looks pretty good. So we'll start moving up and working on the next level. Now let me show you a little of my architectural sleuthing. When we were doing the demolition to repair the servants' stair, I noticed something on the back of the wall, but so you can understand that, let me show you what's going here above. This little nook was designed to hold the refrigerator back when they delivered ice, and that was their means of refrigeration. The servant stair has always been here, so I assumed that this was original and nothing had been changed. The thing I was curious about was the elevator. There was a shaft built for a dumbwaiter, but I wasn't sure that that shaft was wide enough to hold this elevator. So I always wondered if when they put the elevator in that they didn't have to rework this section. But let me show you what I found during the demolition. Don't walk and film at the same time you'll fall down. First, let me point out, look at the extent of the termite damage here. You know, this is just, you know, it's just like paper coming out. So this is where we've rebuilt and shored up the wall. Now we have to come from this wall up and start rebuilding this wall, which means all this beadboard will have to come off. The sad thing about that is this old wood is hard and wonderful, but it's also brittle, and they use square nails which actually have a much stronger holding power than our modern round nails. So getting this off without breaking it is very difficult. Fortunately, I have a lot of spare from the demolition in the basement that we were able to salvage, but all of this will have to come down and have us examine this wall to make sure that the supports are good for the stair that's above us. But with this wall down, I had an interesting find. If you remember in Uncle Lee's bedroom, we talked about the keys on plaster, that the old plaster was on wooden slats and the plaster oozed through the slats to hold on. The more modern construction that we saw in the 1920s was a wire mesh, and the plaster oozed through that mesh. Well, look what's on the back here. This is the remnants of the plaster oozing through a wire mesh. And there are some places like right here where you can actually see that metal bottom of the mesh. So what that tells me is that this wall is not original to the house. So when they, well, I'm guessing that they did have to rebuild that shaft for the elevator, and when they did, they just re-tiled the entire area. So that's kind of an interesting find that tells me a little, a little bit about the progression of this house through time. If you enjoy heavy equipment, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next episode, where we tackle some big issues in the yard. And remember, we're now a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to restoring and preserving this incredible house. Check out our website, League-Kempnerhouse.org, for ways to support us, such as making a donation or volunteering your time. We look forward to all of you being able to personally tour the house someday. Until then, you can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook for more photos and videos of the progress. I hope to see you next time here at the League-Kempner House in Galveston, Texas.